When it comes to diet and exercise, most people are trying to trim down that extra 5 pounds before summer season, but not me. Here's why I'm intentionally gaining weight, including some fat, as a doctor and health optimization nut. What's going on, guys? For those of you who are new here, my name is Kevin Jubal, physician entrepreneur based in Las Vegas, formerly in plastic surgery. Now, when it comes to most things in life, academics, career, etc., I'm able to think of a plan, apply myself, apply some discipline, and get the results that I want. Worked hard in college, crushed my MCAT, crushed my courses, did some research, got into some top med schools, got scholarship, worked hard in med school, crushed the USMLE, did all my rotations, crushed research 10 times harder, matched into the most competitive specialty. Left residency, started med school insiders and men, built those up to a level that I'm very happy with, and so on and so forth. And yet there's one thing that I have been working on longer than any of these, and I have not achieved the results that I wanted, and that's with regards to fitness and physique. And by the way, if you're wondering, this is Baozhan Oolong from Taiwan. Check it out in Tea and Whisk. Use my coupon code, you get 15% off.
Some good tea.
So lucky me, I've always struggled with the skinny fat physique, all right? And I've been lifting with various protocols for a very long time, actually, for over a decade now. I mean, there's times when I've been more consistent than other times, but most recently, I'd say over the last 3 years, I took it a lot more seriously, and then I said, okay, I'm not gonna miss any days at the gym, and still I would miss a few days, but it was literally 10 days per year, so 1 day per month I would miss. And we can go into all the theory and the various philosophies as to how to optimally, add muscle mass, and things like first you need to work on your power and your strength, and then you can add enough volume and stress to stimulate hypertrophy, and yada, yada, yada. Anyways, when I was most recently working with a coach, we were trying to do a clean bulk, so slowly gaining weight, and during that time, I was working hard. I was working really hard, and I gained a lot of strength, but I didn't gain much size. Then I had some setbacks in 2022. In the middle of the year, I had COVID. Actually, no, I had a nasty flu, lost like 3, 4, or 5 pounds. And then 2 weeks later, I had COVID, and it just wasn't ideal. A lot of the gains I had regressed. And I mean, one of the biggest, most obvious reasons for those who follow this channel is I have inflammatory bowel disease. So it's been very well managed over the last few years, but there are times when you have hiccups and you can lose weight pretty fast. If I'm being honest, that's probably one of the biggest reasons that I've been working at this for so long, and yet I haven't been able to maintain a lot of weight, because you'll go up and then down, up and then down, up and then down. So that just makes it harder, but I'm not gonna give up. I'm just gonna change my strategy and work harder. Now, what I'm doing differently. So let's fast forward to August of 2022. When I changed things up, was speaking to my friend who does some competitive bodybuilding, and he's like, Kevin, you just gotta do an old-fashioned dirty bulk. And for those who don't know, dirty bulking is when you are gaining weight, you have a high enough calorie surplus whereby your recovery, your muscle strength gains, your size gains are not limited by calories. You have plenty of surplus, but then again, part of that, since it's dirty, goes to fat. Historically, gaining weight has been extremely difficult for me, but over the last few years, sleeping a lot, taking a lot of care with my health, and just prioritizing that above everything else, I have been able to eat a lot more. So I still avoid the deep fried, the spicy, the nasty, whatever foods, but gaining weight, not as hard anymore. So I wasn't eating super clean. I mean, I was having some ice cream, I was having more red meat than I normally have. And I'm not gonna lie, bulk season, best season. So looking at my weight, because I weigh myself just about every single morning, I was down to the mid 150s, 156 in July. That's when I got wrecked by the Rona and another flu in 1 month. That was fun. And then we said, yeah, buddy, let's gain some weight. Yeah, buddy! We got up to 177 January 2023. Actually, it was more than 177. I think it was like 179. And then soon after that, we started cutting. So I've been in a cut since essentially the second half of January. And now I'm in the 167, 168 range. Now, between July and January, that is over 20 pounds. God damn. Obviously, not all of that's good weight, but some of it is.
It's on now.
Gained so much weight that I had to start buying new clothes because I couldn't fit into my old clothes, which is a good problem to have sometimes. All right, now with the exception of needing to buy new clothes, I have learned a lot in this last 6 to 9 months during my dirty bulk. First, with regards to workouts, it's so easy to overtrain. Now, I went to a bachelor party back in July of last year, and I missed a chest day. Now, so essentially it's 2 weeks. So normally I'm doing chest day once a week where I do like heavy bench and whatever. So I'm coming back to the bench 2 weeks later, rather than just 1 week later, and I added 15 pounds to my bench. That was actually a large wake-up call that illustrated to me that, wow, I'm clearly overtraining because taking 2 weeks off, I gained so much more strength. That actually prompted changing my whole training plan and stopped one workout philosophy and transitioned to a different one. Now, what I'm also learning is the real world optimal versus the theoretical optimal. So theoretically, if I was dialing in my calories very, very precisely, I would be gaining the same amount of strength, the same amount of muscle mass, and I would minimize any fat gain. But in the real world, it's hard to do that in a sustainable way where you are still enjoying eating, you're enjoying working out, you're enjoying the whole process. And that enjoyment actually, it's a positive feedback loop, that flywheel, right? So once you start gaining some momentum, you start gaining some progress, it makes you feel good, it makes you more excited, you're gonna push harder in the gym, you're gonna try extra hard with your sleep optimization or whatever it is. These things are going to compound and give you better results versus going for the theoretical optimal. So by doing the dirty bulk, I was seeing results faster, I had plenty of buffer, all those excess calories were helping with recovery, and seeing those results much faster was really encouraging. Next up is sleep, because obviously you're not building any muscle while you're tearing it down in the gym. It's during your recovery, such as when you sleep. My sleep since December has been so good and I'm very happy with it, but it's not actually related to my bulk in any way. What happened in December is I went duck hunting with a friend and we had to wake up at roughly 4 a.m. 2 days in a row. And I've always struggled with sleep onset. And the thing is, I don't want to, understanding the importance of sleep, I don't want to cut my sleep short. So if I sleep at midnight and I wake up at 8 a.m. and maybe I get into bed the next night at 10 p.m. or 11 p.m., I'm not gonna feel sleepy until later because I woke up at 8 a.m. But during those 2 days of having to wake up at 4 a.m., it forced me to reset my sleep, right? Because now I'm so sleep deprived that I'm willing to sleep early that next day. And I started sleeping between 10 and 11 p.m. every single night and waking up between 6 and 7 a.m., which feels amazing because it's not just the duration of your sleep, your circadian rhythm is also sensitive to sunlight, to the time of day. And if you are sleeping 8 hours from 10 to 6 versus from 2 a.m. to 10 a.m., you're gonna get much better quality sleep 10 to 6. So part of the benefit is sleeping earlier, but I mean, a huge part of it is also just being consistent with those sleep and wake times. That early morning sun exposure, which I have been prioritizing more recently as well, also helped, and I talk more about that by experimenting with Andrew Huberman's routine right up here. Next up was the stress and the uncertainty. There were times when I doubted myself, and my friend just encouraged me. He's like, Kevin, stay the course. It's fine that you're getting a little bit fluffy. I'm like, this is pretty fucking fluffy. And he encouraged me, which was fantastic. And I was also getting some compliments from a few people in my life, and that also helped me stay the course. Once I started really struggling, I had to buy new pants, of course, and Cuts has some nice stretchy joggers. But once fitting into my new pants also became a little bit tight, I was like, okay, it's time to begin this cut soon. Now I use a bioimpedance scale, which tracks both your weight, of course, and also your body fat. Bioimpedance is not very accurate, but it's very precise. And what that means is that you can't trust the absolute value, but the change you can trust. So if you go from 16% to 18%, those numbers may be off, but the fact that you increase 2%, that is reliable, that is precision. Now let's talk about health metrics. And I guess I haven't really touched on why I'm doing this other than saying, hey, I've wanted to improve my physique and my fitness for some time. I very much care about my health. I care about longevity. I have been hospitalized for my IBD before, and understanding when your health is taken away from you, you realize how important it is. They say a healthy man wants a million things, a sick man only wants one. So when you look at the literature on longevity, on health span, more so than lifespan, how long you live a healthy life, things like your muscle mass as you age become very important. So I've also been doing DEXA scans. I did one last year, I did one recently at the end of my bulk, and now I'm gonna be doing another one at the end of my cut. And in terms of goals, there's various things that you can optimize for. For cardio, things like VO2 max, your cardiovascular health. On the DEXA scan, you can get your muscle mass, your ASMI, all these different things that I can cover in a different video. But there are certain percentiles I wanna hit. I wanna be at least at 75th percentile, if not higher, for my age range. So okay, let's talk about these health metrics. My blood sugar, I had tighter glucose control at the beginning of the bulk, August, September, October. But then when I was having difficulty gaining weight further, I was starting to hit a bit of a plateau. I realized I needed to eat a little bit dirtier. And that dirtier eating resulted in poor glucose control. Yeah, looking at my average glucose, it was definitely a lot lower before the bulk. After the bulk, it already started rising a little bit. November, December, definitely getting higher. The 110s, I hit a 124 average one day, which is definitely not good. And since then, it's been coming back down to the normal range of the 90s to low 100s. And Actually, the last 2 weeks, I haven't even been tracking my blood sugar because I'm having some IBD issues, and I'm like, you know, just don't need the extra stress of worrying about my blood sugar when I just need to focus on getting my health in order. And that's something that's unrelated to the bulk and the cut, but that's for another time. Now, the most shocking thing was actually with regards to my heart rate, my cardiovascular health, and I made a lot of changes with my cycling as a result of this. So according to Apple Health, which is using my Apple Watch, I only wear this while I'm awake. So my awake resting heart rate seemed to be, you know, low 60s, and it just kept trending up during the bulk. Now, part of that is the weight gain. I also wasn't very consistent with cardio on like all of 2022. I essentially was cycling like 2 times a month, if that, not good. So it was trending up. I also use Oura Ring, and this measures my resting heart rate at night. So it's not true resting, in that your true resting heart rate should be when you're awake and resting, but anyways, still useful data here. So I was around 53, so I kind of peaked, I guess, when I was sick, but from low to mid 50s to the high 50s, I said, that's not good. That's not a trend I want to see. Since the beginning of December, I started doing multiple bike rides per week, maybe 2 to 3, and now I'm actually doing around 5 or 6 hours of cycling every single week. And I'm measuring things like my VO2. I did my first VO2 max test, and I'm at 49, and 49 is at the 75th percentile for men 30 to 39, but I'm 32, so I wanna be better than that. I wanna be, you know, mid 50s at least. You can also see similar trends with my HRV. So pulling up my HRV here, it was just trending down in such garbage all these months. And again, in December, once I started cycling, that's when we start seeing a positive trend going in the right direction. I guess cardio is one of those things that I never really worried about too much previously because I was always just cycling to and from the hospital or to and from medical school, and it was part of the commute. So I was getting a solid 20, 30 minutes in every single day. And now that it's not just an automatic part of my life, I was like, this is really important for my health and longevity, so I make time for it. I also noticed that as I was gaining weight, when you're on the bike and you're going uphill, you're now needing to carry more weight. So your FTP, which is your functional threshold power, essentially how much power you can sustain over 1 hour. If you're gaining weight, but you maintain the same power output, when you ride, you go slower, right? Okay, that camera just died. So, I was also getting really slow, and my old buddy that I cycle with, who I was always way faster than, he was faster than me for the first time. That also was concerning, which was another reason why I guess my competitive spirit kicked me into high gear. It wasn't just the heart rate variability and resting heart rate, it was also me now being slower than my slow friend. So one thing I'm learning is that cardio isn't just a good thing when you're doing weight training and bulking, it's a necessary thing. And when you're looking at the killers of Americans, cardiovascular disease being the #1, it's really something that I want to prioritize, and I think we all should. So what have I learned from this process? I'm still learning. This whole self-experimenting is very fun and rewarding for me. I'm excited to see the results of the cut. The issue is that with my recent IBD flare, you know, I'm losing weight, but then it sometimes becomes harder to maintain enough protein intake to minimize the atrophy from a cut. So I'm doing my best there, and hopefully it's not too damaging. It would be pretty frustrating to lose a lot of the hard work, but I mean, again, that's just kind of what the cards I was dealt and what I gotta deal with. I just gotta work a little bit harder than the average person. I'm also learning how to make this way more sustainable. So with cycling as an example, I do a lot of zone 2 training, and in zone 2 training, I can do internal meetings with my team. So if I'm trying to do 4-ish hours of zone 2 per week, then maybe half those hours I will actually be meeting with various team members while I'm on my bike. And that's one way where it doesn't feel like I don't have enough time in a day. And 170 pounds up until recently was the heaviest I'd ever been. So I got really into powerlifting in college, and I got up to 170 for like 2 months and then quickly lost it. It was hard for me to maintain that weight. And now going to 178, 179, it is challenging the assumptions I had for myself. And that feels pretty cool to say, hey, you know what? I thought that I could only get to this size, and it's just impossible with my body and yada, yada, yada. And those were all just excuses. So it was cool to break through those limiting beliefs. But I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Have you experimented with dirty bulks? Let me know with a comment below. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then check out this one or that one. Much love, my friends, and I'll see you guys in that next one.